Welcome to the wild, wild west, oh, where the prison's crowded, oh.
Welcome to the 2020 episode of the joeZONE podcast. The first 2020 episode of the joeZONE podcast. And as you can see, we got a new studio today. And we got a dope guest as well.
Thank you so much.
We welcome King Slave Boris. How's it going, buddy?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Lekker, bro.
Nice, man. So how are you doing?
Well, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like strong. I'm feeling healthy, mentally, spiritually, and verbally.
Verbally. The liquor studio is a liquor environment. We used to shoot like in my kitchen before. So now this is maybe a better atmosphere to have a a better atmosphere to conducive conversation. I didn't think I got that word wrong. Anyway, King Slave, that's that name.
Yeah.
It's like I said oxymoron. Somebody said oxymodron or something like
You're
that.
right to the first one. Oxymoron.
Is it
Yeah.
oxymoron?
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that name, like.
It came about very naturally. Firstly, my first mixtape was called King Boris, the first, and the second one was called Slave Boris. The second had very different concepts. The first one was very ego-driven, and the second one is very underground-driven, but more struggle between government and things like that. So it was very conscious, the second one, and the first one was very ego-driven. And then the third one, I decided, well, everyone calls me Boris. My real name's not Boris, actually Byron.
Okay.
But no, I decided, because everyone called me Boris from like high school or anything.
Okay.
So the third mixtape, I chose King Slave Boris, but when I chose it was very natural, man, because I felt like to live like a king, you have to grind like a slave. And because I have that duality in my life where I've lived in the burbs and I've lived in the hood, I understood both sides of the realm when it comes to the lifestyle. So the King Slave just fit me perfectly.
Okay.
Kind of, that's the vibe for that.
So how old were you when you done your first bit of work? You said it was called King
Boris the first.
King Boris first. What was it? A mixtape?
It was a mixtape. Yeah, it was I think 8 tracks. But my first project or first track.
How old were you?
I was. Oh, your lord. I think I was 22.
Okay, so that's why you say it was like ego driven. I'm guessing.
Very ego driven, and it wasn't that good. That's the truth.
Okay.
I won't even talk cock, bro. It was not that good. But the passion was there. The drive was there.
Yeah.
There in the first mixtape. Yeah.
Okay, and then your second one was Slave. So you humbled yourself. I'm guessing.
100%. I humbled myself because at that time I lost my job.
Yeah.
And I felt it. There was no ego driven there because I needed to hustle.
Okay.
So the slave part really came through at that time.
Where were you working at the time?
Yeah, it was a call center. I don't even remember. But call center.
Call center.
It was a call center. I was.
The colored right away like a call center.
Yo, brother, it's like the modern slave.
The modern.
The modern slave. Everyone works at a call center. Yeah.
Is it like?
Yeah.
I work for a company that has a big call center, so that's why I laugh. I'm familiar with a lot of call center workers. I see them grinding all the time. I sometimes maybe also feel like a call center worker. That's why I pursue my passions in this way by doing a podcast. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. So you got lots of passions, like.
Yes.
You got a lot of CDs. You got a lot of mixtapes, right?
Yeah.
How many mixtapes have you got?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8, and
8.
about 2 or 3 EPs as well.
Cool.
But 4, no, actually 5 EPs.
And you're gonna release your first album soon. You were mentioning it.
Debut album 9th of July. I chose the 9th of July because I'm quite a conscious artist, but I'm very lit as well. You see, there's a duality, bro. It's like I understand that I'm a conscious person, but I also love. There's a wild side, and I enjoy that wild side. Yin yang, exactly, bro. And that's exactly why I chose the 9th of July, particularly because of Ashley Krill. I chose his legacy was kind of killed off, unfortunately. It's like not a lot of the modernized people or younger generations know of Ashley Krill, and I decided to release my debut album on the 9th of July when he was murdered by the apartheid police. And that's my message. My message as the King Slave is to try to change mindsets of the youngsters in the hood. That's my biggest message.
Oh, yeah. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Athlone.
Okay.
I grew up in Athlone. I stayed there most of my life, and then this grind forces you like to leave, bruh. Like when you're on a hustle because you know your bag is it consists of you getting out there and getting your gigs and getting those things that you need. So I stayed in Muizenberg for a bit, and I stayed in Q-Town for a bit with my sister. I stayed in Mitchell's Plain for a bit. I stayed in Elsie's. Yeah.
Hustling.
Hustling,
The
man,
ultimate hustling.
That's the true thing. Yeah.
Because you hustle so much, like somehow you ended up on my radar. And I like artists. I like to chat to artists, like, and I can see artists. I think I got the keen eye to see artists.
Yeah.
When I say artist, like, I mean that in more than one sense of the word. Like, I'm a graphic designer, right?
Dope.
But I also do comedy.
Dope.
So, you know what I mean. In that sense, I think I'm an artist. Like, you sing and you also pursue other artists. Buzz. You did martial arts as well.
I did do martial arts.
Did a bit of K1 or something.
I did some K1. I did boxing's my first foundation. My base boxing. Yeah, I love boxing over everything else.
Is it?
But boxing's my first, and then K1. I did Muay Thai. I did Jiu-Jitsu, but I didn't do it long enough to get it into my system where I can remember all those things. I did wrestling as well. I was fighting at the Top Primate Academy. Back then it was Rowan, Katsu, and Raisin. Yeah, that was my
You seem
coaches.
to like follow the ethos of a samurai.
Yeah, I love Japanese culture, man. I really do love Ronin culture because I always felt I was on this journey alone, like a Ronin. Because I've always just hustled on my own. When it comes to gigs, man, you can see myself. I'll take a taxi to the gig. My fights, I used to pull up on a scooter alone. Hopefully, I don't get injured so I can ride back. You know, that was like the vibe.
Do you know, like, one of the things of the samurai, one of the biggest things is that they would be able to do, I think it's, you know when they draw, but I don't know what it's, they've basically been able to sketch their symbols, which is they draw the like right words. Like,
Yes.
but they do it in a specific way, with like a flow like in it.
Yeah.
And then that they would take that type of movement of the paint stroke and apply it to sword fighting.
Whoa, I didn't know
that's-
that. That's really dope.
Yeah,
That's
so
really
that is
dope.
where the artistry came from in a samurai. Like,
I never knew
the
that.
ultimate samurai would be able to, if you were true samurai,
Yes.
would be able to duel with the sword and be able to do
The paintbrush.
beautiful paint works as well.
That's really dope. Nah, I didn't know that, bro.
Yeah,
I got
That's
some
why I
gems,
asked
some
you-
knowledge there.
That's why I asked you about the samurai. If you follow in the ethos of it, then
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
the
know
way.
that, but that's why this podcast is. Yeah, now I knew that from you. Thank you, bro. Big gem.
So we talked about all the good stuff. Let's dip our toe into some negativity. Like recently, you had a beef, like, and I see
Yeah.
you drop in
Diss tracks.
diss tracks, like.
Yeah. That's-
We're not gonna mention the brass name because we don't want to give him power. But what's
Hey,
up with
Stuart.
that, like?
The thing is, I'm not. Let me just say this. This is hip hop. And it is a very competitive culture. Even if you cut from that cloth, especially if you come from the underground cloth, you know that beef is healthy. Whether you like it or not. In other art forms, you don't see jazz artists be like, yeah, I'll scat sing you dead, bro. Like, don't work like that, bro. Hip hop's the only one where it's allowed to have that competitive nature, man. Because it is a street, like, not a street, like, it is a street art form. Hip hop came from the streets, and the streets is a very competitive place.
Yeah.
So, when someone challenges you, you have two options. You can keep quiet and just move on. But in this case, the reason why I capitalized on it, because I saw that if I reply to this man, he's an underground artist, and I've legitimized my career throughout the years already. So if I reply, it legitimizes him. And the thing is, if I legitimize him, I legitimize the Cape Town culture, which means more people get involved. So that means that everyone can start eating. So my plan immediately when I thought like the art of war, Sun Tzu, like I thought of that and I said, if I reply to this man, it's going to cause a buzz around Cape Town artists. And it did that exactly. And now those artists are being, people are downloading their tracks and my tracks. And basically I saw a opportunity to help the culture, but at the same time to stand my ground as a hip hop artist. You know
So
what I
you
mean?
don't see it as negativity. You
No.
see it as positivity, as growth.
Yes.
I like the way you think. That's a very good.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to look
Thank
at
you,
it.
bro.
Because me as an outsider, I thought that it was maybe a bit of negativity. But the way that you shed some light on it now, it's maybe good for our audience to also
Yeah.
to educate them that it's
Yes.
not negativity, yo, we beefing, but we also growing each other.
Yes.
It mustn't be like a WWE beef though.
Yeah,
You know
see,
what I mean? Mustn't be too
sometimes,
fake. Like,
bro, I won't lie. Sometimes you're like, I'm gonna kick this Brian. It's like
Okay.
you smirk that, but you also have to just realize that it's gonna level up this artist that's gonna beef with you because he did level up. His diss track was good. The reply, but I love that. That's that competition that feeds competition. Like you can't fight the people that's not in your league, bro. Like you need to fight those people that levels you up, and that's exactly what he did. He took on someone like me, and he replied, and that's it. And I replied again, but I just wanted to get the last segment. He was, no, I must get the last segment, bro.
It was very good that you showed me that way of thinking, and it's a very good, positive way to look at the situation instead of looking at it in a negative way and maybe using violence like that is maybe it's almost like stereotypical of where we live, like to use the violence to sort of.
100%.
But you guys are using your artists, your art to like resolve it. So maybe other artists can, or other kids out there will have a look at it and say, hey guys, maybe we don't have to put up our dukes. Maybe we can solve it in a rap battle.
And that's what you want.
Or a boxing match, and not
Exactly.
like shoot each other in a negative way.
That's exactly the message I'm trying to push across.
Nice,
Because that's better. That's much better, bro.
You mentioned Ashley Creel. Like, do you see yourself as a modern day activist?
I am, because I push the Khoisan message hard, and there's a reason for that, because I have a very, you see, I know that I'm a free thinker, and it's like frowned upon in society because you're not supposed to free think. Free thinking is not good, because you're gonna break certain barriers that society has put in there for them to control. And I know I say them as it sounds very conspiracy wise or conspiracist theory. You know what? When I say them, but it is. There are people in power that do certain things that allow control. Yeah. So when I say that Ashley Krill, I do see myself being a voice for the voiceless when it comes to the streets. I'm not a G, but I know G's, and I learned from them, and I learned from lawyers and no other people. Like I say, I love that duality. I can chill with an attorney one day. I can chill with a homie from the streets the next day, because I am on that both sides of the playing field, because I want to be, because I know that my life is, I know my purpose from a young age. I knew from like 3 years old, I was already playing guitar on a spatula. Mommy was like, I was singing Bon Jovi, Bed of Roses on a spatula, because I knew what I wanted by then already, bro. Like, my mommy saw that in me already. She's like, my family saw that this is an extrovert, this is a creative lighty. And then when I started growing up, my family did try to put me in a box, but it just forced me to get out of that box, bro. Like, I just wanted to be creative, and I wanted to push a proper message, because, okay, this is a podcast. I'm just gonna start going deep, because I like this conversation, like, on some real stuff.
Say what you want to say.
Like, my biggest drive for this message is because, and the Ashley Kills, all gonna tie up. My father was a cop back in the day, man. He was an award-winning cop as well, and also martial arts, a third degree Dan in karate. And he was murdered when I was 7. Sure. So he was murdered at a young age by gangsters. He was off duty, and I don't want to talk about if it was a hit or not. It doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that drove me, because as I was a very angry child after that. Because when you don't have a father, you kind of try to figure out what can you put into place, what can fill that gap, and then you try filling that gap with anger, rebelliousness. Some people fill it up with drugs. Some people fill it up with joining a gang. My plan was like make music and start training people, like the lighties that are growing up mindset, so they don't have to lose fathers anymore or lose lighties. It's different, man. Like, that's my message because when my father died, I knew that I'm not going to grow up with that big thing that's missing, that gap, but I'm going to fill it with a message. And the message is like appetizing, bro. Like, my message fills me up. Like, it's my father. Yeah. You know what I mean?
When did you reach that point where you could like accept, like, where you took that, when you took that message on board, that you're saying, like, you decided to yourself, listen, I'm going to change my way of thinking. When did you decide to change from an angry guy to use that energy, and how did you, like, I know you used your father's death to ultimately use it positively, but how did you do the switch over from negative to positive?
That's a good question. I started. I'm talking bad about my mom. My mom she didn't really like my father that much, because he did leave when she was pregnant, and he came back after I was born. So she went to the pregnancy alone. So there was a lot of resentment and a lot of ups and downs when it came to the dynamic between my mommy and my daddy. So he died at a very young, when I was 7. So when I was 14, I realized what I've lost. Because when I was a kid, my mommy spoke as if I didn't need him, and I believed her because she was looking after me, feeding me, so I believed her. But when I turned 14, I started realizing, no one taught me how to drill, no one taught me how to ride a bike, no one taught me how to. My uncles were there, but they weren't there. They weren't always there. So when I hit 18, I was angry, bro. Like I was partying, trying to like get into fights and just trying to be unruly, man. And when it hit, like I think it was. And it went into my 20s, but I won't lie. I think it was still after that first mixtape, I was still quite angry. And I think 23 was the age. Because I'm 27 now. 23 was the age when I actually realized that, nah, bro. Like,
so after your first mixtape, you said, yes, I need to change the negativity to positive energy.
Yo, bro, like proper. Because
and you humbled yourself in that.
Yeah. And at 23, I was always bold, man. I was always bold.
Yeah.
And when I started accepting my Khoisan roots and started, because my daddy's side is from the Plaas, so I started accepting that roots. I started realizing, the more I get to know my roots, the more I get to know peace and calmness to my spirit. And that's the thing. You want to keep your spirit calm, man. Because in this game, the industry is it's devilish. It's a very devilish industry. You can fall into a trap of drugs and alcohol and partying and women. And if you don't keep that calmness in your spirit, you lose yourself. So at 23 was the age when I realized I'm a grown-ass man. I got bills to pay. I can help my mommy. So I was working throughout all those things. And then it was basically 23 years old, I think. It was 23 when I realized I need to change my outlook.
That's a lot younger than a lot of other people, like snap wake. And I can't imagine what it is to be without a father. So that got to be tough. But it's always tough situations make almost strong men sometimes.
100%, bro. That's exactly what I love by.
And then strong men in turn make easy times.
I like that.
Easy times makes weak men.
Ooh.
So it's
this nigga's a rapper, bro.
I'm not a rapper. I'm just quoting somebody else.
I'm using it on the album. using it on the album.
I'm just quoting something else, but that's often how the circle works. So those tough times made you a strong person, and it's dope that you taking on that responsibility to put this message out, because there's lots and lots of kids out there on the there's lots of kids without fathers. You know that in Cape Town, lots.
A lot, yeah.
So I understand why you're trying to get your message out, and I like that, man. I haven't seen you live. Our mutual friend Faiz Jacobs, the champion, has seen you live, and he said you're dope.
Well, he's a dope person to see live too, and he's whooping niggas' asses. That's what he does. But that's funny thing. Faiz is one of those people that I naturally connect with.
Yeah.
Because he has that same drive.
Yeah. You think very same. You got the very same type of thinking,
100%. Because besides me coming from the fight world, and because I was semi-pro, he was already pro.
Yeah. And
then I remember getting my ass whooped the fourth fight, because I only fought 4 fights, but I was training every day, 5 hours a day in the dojo, to 5 to 6 hours. I was obsessed with it because I wanted to catch up, because some of these homies were fighting from young, bro, and I was like, nah, bro, I want to be that level. So I got obsessed with it, and I met a lot of people. I became sparring partners to some EFC guys, and I was happy that I climbed up fast, right? But my fall was fast because my ego was driven. You see, my ego was being fed by first fight, 15-second knockout. Second fight, easy second round fight. I looked like I was having fun with this guy. Third fight, all 3 rounds, but he was tired. But I looked really good doing what I wanted to do. Fourth fight, that ego was there. And I go in that ring, and I got my ass whooped in that first minute of that first round. And I realized that humbled me. And that pushed me. That was the biggest L and the biggest W of my life at the same time. Because that was a blessing in disguise, bro. When I got humbled that day, I took a step back, and I told myself, I went back into training the next week, and I just told myself, Like that is what I needed because that helped me. And then that was the funny thing. Faiz won that title that night. I lost that. That's the crazy. He won the PFC title that night, or defended it, and he won it that night. And I lost at my first L, basically, that night. And that's how crazy it was that we linked up later when he was fighting for the championship, and I made the intro track for him. And because I had the fighter's mindset, I could easily tell him when I had a meeting, I understand what you need. So let me make a song that's gonna speak to your spirit again. And that's why I made the song Troublemaker with Dante Di Dante.
I like it. Yeah, it's interesting that you guys like gravitate towards each other because these guys are very, very similar. Like, and it's good that we have such positive role models in Cape Town. I think and you saw getting out there, doing your thing, like on the stages and stuff like it. Yeah. I'm trying something similar with this podcast. Like, just also put out a positive message. And maybe my voice is not the voice that people want to hear, but definitely your voice and Faiz's voice, like.
But think about it. Whose voice is on your podcast?
Yeah.
So you're opening a platform for voices to speak. So you're just as powerful if you think about it.
I would like to I'd like to put people on, to be like to have something more like it.
Oh, yeah.
So when you drop in you said you're dropping it the 9th of July.
Yeah,
you
the 9th of July.
Are you dropping it, having a big party or something like that?
Most probably, my manager's here and he knows we're going to throw a listening party. We
I hope I'm invited.
Bruh, VIP. But the 9th of July, it's called Savant.
Okay.
Now,
so you're busy making doing the album now?
Yeah.
Like writing the songs?
I have some of them recorded and I'm just adding on because I like working towards a date instead of having the full track and then choosing a date. I love that pressure. It's like, when the fight is coming up, I still have that fighter's mindset in studio where, okay, my fight's the 9th of July. Prepare for it. Now, this album's the 9th of July, bro.
So you fight, you're doing like a fight camp. Like
this is my fight camp, my weight cut, everything, bro. Like, it's everything like that.
So how many, have you got any tracks done? Like,
I have the first single was released from the Cup, and then I released the music video last week. And then... I think that's it. There was only one single release, and I'm probably gonna release one more single, and then nothing. Then I go quiet. Like April, you just see me no gigs, and I'm just in studio. I just hibernate and I just work on the album. That's it.
Cool. Where do you do your gigs? I know the one you do at Trench Town. I know that spot. Where else do you perform?
I performed so many times, but mainly right now in 2019, 2020, it's been Trench Town, the biggest hip hop. Scene is Trench Town, OBS basically. I would say OBS Observatory has become the hip hop scene. It's like moved away from like town. Yeah. OBS is becoming the place to be if you want to see rising artists. And so it's Trench Town. I would say I'm performing in Strandfontein, from Strandfontein to the Plain to last 2 years ago I was in Josie. I went on tour with the Outlaws. Yeah,
I saw you had a track with E40 as well.
Yeah,
like, how did you get onto that track?
So when we did a tour with the Outlaws, we got off stage, me and Dante, and they just like, y'all niggas got that fire though. That was from the west side. They're like, y'all got that fire though. We didn't know Cape Town had that fire. So we're like, yo, bro, thank you so much. And they're like, I got a deal for y'all. I'm speaking in his voice. That's how he sounds, bro. And then he just said, well, I want to put you guys on an international remix with E40. But the remix was like with Vietnam, a Vietnamese artist, Philippines.
I saw like all the different.
And some of them got millions of followers. So it was a huge thing. Like people maybe not the one to will not make a big thing of it here in Cape Town or in South Africa. But my name's popping in Vietnam and I don't give a fuck, bro. Because it's world domination to me. Like I'm starting in those kind of countries. You know what I mean?
Why is it? Do you sense? Is there a sense that I get that you think Cape Town don't support their own?
Yeah, no, the culture's building now.
Okay.
The culture's building now. You see this beef and all these things is building now, but we're still trying to get to that point where people will be like, I would rather pay for your gig than go watch Ed Sheeran or Justin Bieber. That's the point. We want to get our Cape Townian artists on that level where people will like, King Slave is going to perform.
How much is a ticket for your show?
Like I think the 2nd of Feb I'm headlining I-420, so I think that's like $70.
Sure, it's like nothing there.
Nothing
to see, and there's other artists on the bill. I'm guessing.
Of course, yeah.
I think there's similar. Well, I had an issue with. I thought there was an issue with people not supporting the fighting in Cape Town, and I also thought that people don't support like the comedy as much, and I made like comments about like Cape
Yes.
Town not coming out to support their own.
Yes.
And they often like will go like you say, Ed Sheeran will fill up Greenpoint Stadium
Yeah.
10 times, and our artist will struggle to sell out like a club or something like that.
100%.
Tell me about your shows. When is your next show?
Okay, so we got the 1st of Feb at the Show House Lounge. That's in Strandfontein. That's 50 rand at the door.
What
we
is
got-
Show House Lounge? What is
It's
it?
like a.
I'm not a clubber, so you
Yeah,
must
yeah.
tell me about these spots. Like,
It's not really a club. It's more like a chill spot vibe
Yeah.
where you can smoke hookah.
Liquor.
I think it's food as well. It's a liquor vibe. Bring your
Is
own XYZ also. That's the dope thing about the show. It's like you can bring your own XYZ.
I like that.
Yeah, it's
in
really dope.
Strandfontein, huh?
Strandfontein.
I got some family out there, so maybe I can check
Pull
out
up,
the show.
bro. Pull up because it's gonna be really dope. I'm gonna perform with a live band. So
Is it?
yeah, because I'm not going back to my jazz roots, but yeah, I am going back to my jazz roots, but just more neo soul vibes. So I'm gonna perform with a live band. Then the 2nd of Feb is I for 20 Sundays at Trenchtown. Now that's $70 at the door. There's no
Okay.
pre-tickets there. You just come there. That's a very popular event. You can actually just Google I for 20 Sundays and it pops up on Facebook.
Okay.
And then we got the 8th of Feb, which is again Trenchtown. That will be 80 rand pre-sold, 100 rand at the door. So you buy tickets pre-sold normally through me or through anyone who's selling.
Okay. I must mention to you, you say you do neo soul.
Yeah.
There's like one song that I listened to quite a few times of yours already. It's a cover you did.
Of which one?
Amy Winehouse.
Back in the day. Yo, that's like 5 years back.
Yeah, I mean, you check the views on that thing, the views has gone up because it's just me listening to it on a repeat all the time.
Was it Love is a Losing Game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my mom's favorite song, so I did it back in the day.
Is it?
Yeah, she loves that song.
It's dope that she did it, and she's obviously the ultimate, but I like that song, your version of it is, I like it because it sounds like a male's voice making himself vulnerable.
That is me.
Yeah.
I'm I'm an emotional person. I'm an emotional being. I know that I don't have to hide that I'm an emotional person. I'm an artist, bruh.
Yeah.
That's the thing about society. Men supposed to be all this macho. I don't give a fuck about that. I can fight, but at the same time I can cry equally. And that's the duality again. The King Slave is the duality about that shit.
Yeah, but I picked that up, like, and especially that the words to that song even is like,
Yeah.
it's such a, you like making yourself so vulnerable with that,
Yeah.
with that song. Like.
Yes, sir.
And you can hear it in your voice, like, were you thinking of any specific thing when you were making that, or when you were singing that song or something like that?
I think I was
Were you going
predicting
through
my
something?
future relationships. Yes. I was predicting my future relationships because afterwards
predicting your
I was predicting
future-
because love is a losing game for me. But my inspiration from my best music was heartbreak music. Like it's always failed love that made my best songs go viral. It's always the failed love songs where like I couldn't get the girl, or she left me or cheated, or I did something stupid or something like that.
You
know, 'cause-
cheated.
Hey man, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I just think, what No, I'm a nun. I don't know.
No, man. Listen, you obviously sometimes things go tough in relationships, and you must
Yeah.
you can use that energy
Yeah.
to create artwork. Then it's
Yeah.
all good, like. But yeah, and it must be sometimes not as easy being an artist out there in Cape Town, and then the ladies like.
I cut that out. Look, I won't lie. I tried to live a rapper lifestyle. It just didn't work for me, man. I'm not saying I'm the most gentleman. Like I am chivalrous, but man, naturally men can be assholes, and I've fallen into that trap many times.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just
The check here. We must check out. It's upon us to own up to our own mistakes. Like
Ownership.
I think it's that thing like that you want to say what you don't want to say. Like my bro, I did some
I've
bad
definitely
things.
hurt some people.
I've did some bad things, and even like with my wife, I must always say sorry to her, apologize. Like as you can see, I'm married.
Yeah.
I must always apologize to her because like there's some dodgy things I did. Like like when she was my girlfriend, and it's like always like I always have to say sorry, and it's like it'll never be enough. Almost like it feels because men are dogs. Like and you know what put that under and it's this one Facebook lady that doesn't like what I'm about to say, but because when you have a daughter
Yes.
that gets magnified, like
Yes.
there's a magnifying glass on all the cack that you did before.
Yes.
You like think to yourself, yeah, man,
Yeah, bro. Yes.
like why did I treat that person in that way? Like
Yeah.
what possessed me? Like, and like the only answer that I can come up with in my tiny little brain is that like you said, like you were just reckless and you just I don't know, young men are
Acting
very
out.
destructive.
I was
like.
acting out, bro.
Yeah,
I was
young men are
just-
very destructive, and often like when you're in relationships in a young age, like you I don't know if you take it out on the girl or that happens. There is that dynamic.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys out there that should be saying sorry, and yeah, it's upon us to say sorry and like make it right, change the course of things, because how things was before our generation was very different. Like.
Yes.
And how the men before, in the generation before us, treated
Yes.
women very differently.
Very different.
So how how the pattern was passed on to us was like, okay, and we maybe did better, but also
Yes.
upon the next generation also to maybe do even way better. Like.
Yes, and that speaks on generational curses. Like my ma Charlotte on my neck, she was in a, rest in peace to both my ma and my pa. And I'm not talking bad. Unfortunately, it's fact. He was very abusive physically, man. Like he
There we
did a
go.
lot of things.
That's what
and,
I'm talking
and
about.
that was a thing I needed to make sure that, firstly, his my uncles, his sons, made sure that they don't do that, and they taught it into me, like, yo, just don't lift up your hands, and
Yeah.
it helped. There's many times, a man can almost slip, bruh. Like, there was a time, like, when one of my exes were hitting, and I was like, but at that stage in your head, it doesn't, you can't do it. It doesn't matter what you do. You just get out the situation and save yourself first,
Yeah.
basically.
I've got the best father in the world. Like I must admit, like he's like the greatest man on earth. But maybe when I was 4 years old or something like that, and he's quite a big guy. He used to give me big items with a leather belt.
Ooh,
With
the
a
buckle
leather-
side.
Yeah, bro,
Like
with a
whip, yeah.
leather belt.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think he should have been doing that. Like,
To
especially
that
you can see
extent.
how skinny I am. Like right now. Like imagine a 4-year-old version of me.
Yo.
You know what I mean? So, not four. Let's whatever 9, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was still a young guy.
Yeah.
And this big guy was basically beating on me. Like,
Yeah.
now he's the best guy on earth. He's the
Yes.
best father on earth and
Yes.
stuff like that. But this did happen.
Yes.
And I had to look into myself, like, why was I violent certain times? Like, and I maybe because I was beat up like
Yes.
by a bra 3 or 4 times my size when I
At
was young.
age.
Yeah, and that didn't click it didn't click for me until later in my life. So now when I get upset and my son, I've got a son and he's 3 years old.
Yeah.
And he frustrates me or
Yes.
whatever and stuff like that. It's almost like there's almost like a default setting to give him a hiding for being
Yeah,
naughty.
yeah.
But I have to consciously tell myself, listen here, I'm 5 times this dude's size. I can't do that. I can't be giving him a hiding. Like,
Yeah.
so that's what when you talk about generational curses, like,
Yes.
I identify that. I understand what you're saying. Like,
Yes.
and it's for us to change that generational
break it.
curse, to break it. Yeah.
Break a generational curse, because as you can see, the state of men versus women in this country is not in a good state.
Yeah.
So yeah, that generational curses, if we can teach our children to break that generational curses, we can change the future.
We must start with us, bro.
100%. And I'm with you on that.
Yeah, we went heavy there for a
Let's
while.
go back to heartbreak.
Do you have any Joel numbers, like something like that? Like,
Yes. I released a tape called Heartbreak in Cape Town in September last year. And I think the Joel numbers was big on that one. Like, there was one called Oh My God, where I went into Afro pop. Because, people didn't expect me to go into Afro pop. They were like, no, he's a jazz singer, rapper. I was like, no, I've studied all the genres from metal to indie to alternate to Afro pop to kwaito. I can literally jump on any beat and make a record. And that's because I've just been obsessed with music all my life. So bangers were not hard to make. So the last project I released, which was Heartbreak in Cape Town, Oh My God, it was like the main Afro pop banger. Your dances, like, and I performed it on Hectic 99 as well. So it was really a really iconic song in my career.
I saw
As
you a
per
few
your
times on Hectic 99.
Yeah.
You were quite,
Just once.
but just once on there. I
Yeah.
saw you like you were like cowboys with a leather jacket. That's the only time.
When was that? I think it was CTV.
Oh, okay, sorry, that's a different.
Yeah, I've been on
sorry.
CTV.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on
CTV
CTV.
and Hectic 99.
No,
Sorry,
it's
I'm
two
getting
different,
confused.
Yeah.
I thought they were the same program.
no, yeah. Once on Isabishi too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't watch the government channels. I'm sorry.
Just
YouTube. Nah,
I got
just
an
YouTube.
extra view, niggas. I got an extra view. I can record my shit.
Anyway, man, does dope speaking to you like what's your Twitter handles and your Facebook
I'm
handles?
not
and
on
stuff?
Twitter
Is it?
because
Why
I
not?
think I have Twitter, but I've never used it. But I do know it's my name backwards, so it's Boris
Sorry, spit.
Slave King.
Oh.
At Boris Slave King on Twitter. On Insta, it's at King Slave Boris.
Yeah.
Sorry, on Insta, it's King Slave Boris. Facebook, King Slave Boris. You can find me there. YouTube, it's King Slave Boris.
I checked out your YouTube videos, and you got quite a bumping SoundCloud page. That's where all your mixtapes go down, right?
No, Audio Mac. But
Audio Mac.
Yeah, check my Audio Mac. My Audio Mac has
But
more.
the beefs went down on SoundCloud.
Yeah. No, because my SoundCloud was quiet for a little bit, and then I decided, well, I released only on this just to get some traffic on my SoundCloud. So it was kind of like a marketing strategy as well to get my SoundCloud plays up.
Oh.
Yeah, so I only released my beef tracks, my biggest one on SoundCloud, just to get the plays there. But mainly all my stuff is on Audio Mac and Spotify. I am on I am a registered artist when it comes to Samro and over 150 online stores. You can find my music on Spotify, to iHeartRadio, to iTunes, to Google Play. You just search King Slave Boris. You can find it on Facebook when you when you have it stories. You just click King Slave Boris and there's songs that pop up on Insta and Facebook as well.
Songs?
And Shazam, yeah, you can Shazam some of my stuff as well.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. So people can listen to your stuff. Just check out King Slave Boris.
King Slave Boris, easy, bro.
Check out I suggest people should check out the Amy Winehouse cover.
Yo,
Yeah,
for me, because it's so long ago, I'm like, don't check it out. But at the same time, please check it out either way.
Why
But it's
not?
still-
Why don't you like? Don't you
I
like?
feel-
You were
I'm-
playing a lot of device.
Yeah.
Like.
That's not a good way of doing it. I don't sound like that though. But my vibe is, I'm one of those artists that once I release something, I don't like listening to it too much because I feel like I'm already upgraded or I'm leveled up from that. So when I listened to my 5 years ago, some people are like, oh, it's dope. I'm like, no, it's cock to me. But it's not cock. It's just that I am that type of artist that wants to elevate all the time because I want to be on Freddie Mercury's label. I want to be Kurt Cobain's label. I want to be Amy Winehouse's label. I want to be Bob Marley. I'm cut from that cloth. I just need to work and elevate my sonic and my music till I get to that level of a cult icon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope to see you there soon, buddy. It was dope speaking to you.
Thank you so much, man.
Peace.
Love is a losing game.